All right. Um, one, two, three. Cool. All right. Well, so just yesterday I tweeted that I wanted to start getting back into content creation, and I figured what better time than right away to do so. So I decided to make a video talking about the deck I played to Charlotte Regionals, which was Gholdengo. I'm gonna spend this time just kind of going over the decklist choice and talk a little bit about like pros and cons. And maybe I'll do like more of these, kind of just talking about my ideas behind decklist and things like that, because I think it's fun. So first, this is the 60 that kind of put the deck on the map. This got third place at the Kyoto League Championship. Um, it is just a 4-4 Gholdengo line with a 1-1 Palkia, a 1-1 Milotic, 1 Greninja, and 1 Manaphy. Supporter line is just 4 Worker, 2 Irida, 1 Boss, 1 Roxanne. A pretty simple package to go along with any sort of like Pokestop build. So it includes 4 Cross Switcher, 4 Battle VIP, 3-3 on the Ball Search, 2 Earthen Vessel, 1 Letter of Encouragement, 1 Energy Retrieval, 1 Super Rod, and then 4 Superior Energy Retrieval, 6 Water, 5 Steel. This felt like a really decent skeleton. In my brain, I feel like this was going to play very similarly to like a Chen Pao, where you kind of just like naturally draw out as many cards as you can, Pokestop to try and find a few pieces, Irida for the missing piece. But with the addition of Worker, you have these turns where you can see a lot of cards. You can go like Pokestop, Worker, Pokestop, hit a lot of pieces you may need in your deck. 1 Rod to be able to kind of like put things back that you maybe accidentally hit, and 1 Roxanne to be able to come back. So after playing this deck for a little while, things that worked went. It was decently consistent. You were setting up pretty often between Greninja and Pokestop. You're finding at least 1 more Pokemon Search card, so you're fine there. You had a fine time getting energies into your hand with Letter of Encouragement. Being able to just put 3 straight from the deck to your hand after something dies is pretty strong. Things that didn't work. Because Manaphy is still being played in this format, you had almost 0 Star Portal threat. And swinging with Palkia is decent, but really Star Portaling to Greninja is amazing. So these are the changes I made. I decided to throw in a Canceling Cologne, I decided to play an Avery, and I decided to play a Vacuum. The 8 outs that the deck originally had to Path Bump seemed like enough, but I just figured if we're already playing the Avery, we could be able to find the Vacuum. To vacuum away Pokestop, there may be times where you want to vacuum away a tool. And I also decided to cut the Manaphy. I felt like going into the Charlotte Regionals that there wouldn't be many decks playing Greninja with the chance to Moonlight Shuriken. That ended up being like a fine call. Most of the Tinas were playing 2 waters, so they were able to do it. But outside of that, there's not really a whole lot that was spread attacking. So I just cut the Manaphy, and I figured even if Tina's able to do it, it's probably not turn 2, so we should be fine. So yeah, this is what I ended up playing. Pretty much the same across the board. I cut Letter and 1 Stop and something else, the Manaphy, to be able to fit those 3 cards in. Things this deck did well. You can now threaten Moonlight Shuriken. You have the clones, so you're able to do that. You had the Vacuum that you could grab off Irida for Path, which I thought was great. And I also played the second Rod, which I thought was pretty useful because late game the deck gets really thin, and if you run out of superior energy retrievals, you can just like flood the deck with these energy. So that way you're able to get them all back in the deck. Things that didn't work, because we're playing just simply even like 1 more supporter, it just seemed like Pokestop was hitting far too many supporters in late game pieces. This is like most likely just anecdotal off the few games that I played, but those are my feelings. And I started realizing that like once you use Roxanne, you've pretty much already lost. If your opponent takes 1 prize at some point, they're most likely going to try and take another 1 prizer at some point, putting them back on even prizing. So then when you're able to use Roxanne is normally once they've taken 4 prizes. So there's just not really a chance to use Roxanne is what I was finding in my games. So I made these changes. We cut the Roxanne, we cut the Avery, we added energy retrieval, we added that second Rod, we played the Pokestop over the Vacuum, and this deck, my idea was just we can now like extremely turbo. Pokestop is almost always hitting something. You're fine with discarding. Um, your Greninja, all your draws are just hitting so many cards that are able to be played pretty much every single turn to get you somewhere in the game. I thought this deck played really well. I probably played in like two two league nights, did a whole testing night with a group of people, and I just found that this deck was working really well for me. I was getting set up every time, having a lot of good time. Yeah, so things that went well, we were getting set up. We were even getting that turn 2 star portal off pretty consistently. Consistently enough that Zard players were getting annoyed. We're able to find the switchers and clone on turn 2. Thanks to being able to get set up, and thanks to that Pokestop hitting, just anything that you're fine with playing, you're able to to just keep building on your hand. Milotic also kind of creates this false sense of importance, while also being important. Because if your opponent boss KOs Milotic, it still means that the following turn is when they're hand disrupting you. And if they boss kill a Phoebus, it means that that turn wasn't spent hand disrupting you, so you're able to build up a big hand. So there's just this weird game where your opponent wants to kill that Milotic so they can hand disrupt you, but they're just wasting a turn doing so, and they're only getting one prize. But it's also great for you because Milotic is huge. You're able to build this gigantic hand that just has all the pieces you need. Things that I didn't really think about too much was my game plan into Zard had become pretty linear. I'll go back and I'll talk about that in a moment. Prizing your stage 1s became very detrimental in this list, and my 2 Rod actually became a bit useless. So the game plan into Zard became linear because my thought was I can always kill a Rotom pretty much at any time in the game. Having 4 energy in my hand, swinging with a Gholdengo is pretty easy. Getting 6 energy, also not that difficult. One single SPE most likely gets you there, superior energy retrieval. And then you just go for the gigantic KO into Zard with your Gholdengo. And the reason that this was working so often is because since Zard wants to go second, they're always swinging into whatever my active was my thought, during their second turn. But as I started playing out more, if the Zard just simply didn't swing into my active with EX, or maybe they used Ember on a Charmander with a benched EX, the game just was a little weird. They're able to get more damage on the board than I thought. They're able to pick out a better target, which is not how my first few games were playing. Prizing your stage 1s in this deck became so pivotal because of how important the Star Portal was to the game plan, and because of how important Milotic had become around the game plan, that prizing one of those was enough to kind of slow down the game, and prizing both of them just meant the deck was never really able to get off the ground. And then that second Super Rod just became a bit useless, between your energy retrieval and between your 4 superior, or your energy retrieval and your 4 superior energy retrievals. You saw enough energy, and you weren't Pokestopping away enough Pokemon to require the second Rod. So really, if I could go back and I could change anything, I might make that second Rod either something like the Avery for a little bit more draw support and a little disruption, maybe just a Judge, or maybe even a third Earthen Vessel are my thoughts after this tournament. But yeah, that's how I ended up on this list. I have no regrets. I think the list played fantastically. I had a lot of fun. I was able to talk to a lot of people about this deck because they had a lot of questions. Yeah, and I finished the tournament 4-4-1. I can't be too upset about that. I feel very happy with how I played, and I thought the deck was just a lot of fun, and I felt like I had a lot of stake in coming up with it, so that's always really fun to me. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you gained some insight, or maybe just enjoyed listening to me ramble, but this is how I ended up on Gholdengo. Let me know if you'd like to see me do something similar to this. And hopefully see you again soon.